Some very basic project settings can completely make the difference between a not polished game and a super polished game, which people would be willing to actually download. These settings are super easy to set up and can highly benefit your project. So if you want to really take your game to the next level, stay until the end because the last one is the best setting. Firstly, we're gonna be talking about the orientation. So basically the orientation is basically if your game is gonna be played vertically or horizontally. These modes are called portrait, this one is portrait, the vertical mode, and this one is called landscape. So imagine that your game is made for a landscape resolution, but then when you export your project, you say that your orientation is portrait. Of course, your game isn't gonna to be working perfectly fine and you're gonna have lots of bugs, errors and a lot of visual errors. The orientation is mostly related with Android or iOS devices, so let's switch the platform to Android in this case, but this of course would also work for iOS exports. After waiting a couple of seconds or minutes, you're gonna see that the Unity logo should be appearing in your Android platform, and also you shouldn't be having any kind of error warning or any kind of that stuff in your console. If so, that means that everything is working fine. So now, in order to change the orientation of your game, you're gonna head to File, Build Settings, Player Settings, and here in Resolution and Presentation, we have here the orientation, and this is the default orientation. We have the auto rotation, it's exactly what you are thinking about. So this is used for a game that can be used both in portrait and in landscape mode. Here you can enable or disable the different orientations the user can use. Then here in the different orientations we have portrait, portrait upside down, landscape right, landscape left, or auto rotation. That is the default option. Mostly you're gonna be using either portrait or landscape left, because let's be honest, not a lot of people use portrait upside down or landscape right. Secondly, we have the boot splash. Basically, this is the boot splash, or it's also called here Unity splash image, but it's exactly the same thing, and it's just the screen or the image that the player will see as soon as it opens the application or the game. By default in Unity, this is the splash screen. And well, if you don't have a license for Unity Pro or some things like that, as you can see, you must show a splash screen and you must show the Unity logo, but there are some things that you can actually modify. For example, we have here the background color, so I can for example make it like red, and as you can see now it's different. Or for example, the splash style, the default is light to dark, light on dark, or we can put dark on light. Then we have here two options for animation. The default one is dolly and the second one is static, as you can see. Or I believe you can even set a custom animation that you can modify the logo zoom or the background zoom. So I'm just gonna quickly modify, for example like this, and as you can see we have a very different result. Also, we can modify here the draw mode. By default it's set on Unity logo below, but we can change it to all sequential. And as you can see, for example, we can change here the logo duration. So for example, I will set it in 5, and now as you can see, the splash screen will last for a lot more time. Also, we can upload our own logo. So for example, I'm gonna select my channel logo, and as you can see there I have my logo. We also have the overlay opacity, so I'm gonna set it to 0.5 for example. So as you can see now it changes, and well, those are the most important options you can modify. Then what is a game without an icon? Imagine just exporting your game with the Unity icon. That would be awful. So in order to upload your logo, again you're gonna go to File, Build Settings. Here you're gonna select Player Settings, and here you're gonna upload your default icon. So in this case I'm gonna click select, and here I have my game icon. One of the most used resolutions for icons is 512 by 512. So that's the recommended resolution for your icon. And also here there is like this topic of icon that we have adaptive icon, round icon, and legacy icon. As you can see, this depends on the Android version the user is playing. And here you can put the background, the foreground of your logo in the different sections. I could make a whole video about these icons because they are, I believe, more complex than they seem and how they work. So in this video, as this is very basic, we are just gonna stick with the default icon. And finally, one of the most important things is to reorder our scenes. So probably in your game you're gonna have a lot of scenes, and probably you're gonna have a menu scene with all the user interface, and then you're gonna have like a game scene or a main scene. So if you don't order your scenes, what could happen is that as soon as you export your project, I mean you build your project and someone install it, the thing that would happen is that the first scene that launches would be maybe the game scene. So the user wouldn't actually see the menu scene. Well, of course, we don't want that. So how to order our scenes? It's very simple. You're just gonna head to File, again build settings, and here in your scenes in build you're gonna find the scenes that actually are gonna be inside our build. If a scene isn't here, it's not gonna be inside our build, so it's not gonna be accessible to the player. So for example, here I only have my menu scene, so I will have to drag and drop my game scene. And that's not all, because as you can see we have here an index 0, 1, etc. So the scene 0 is the one that will be launched as soon as we open the game. In this case it's correct because as soon as we open the game we wanna open the menu scene. But sometimes maybe you have it like this, so the first scene that will launch in this case is the game scene, and that actually makes no sense. So probably you're gonna need to have your menu scene before you launch the game scene, and that's why this setting is so important. So these settings, as I said before, can really improve the user experience from your game. They are really easy to implement but very powerful though. Don't hesitate to take some time before building your project and check out the settings I showed you. Consider also that these settings aren't an important key to the success of a game. I mean, if your game doesn't become a hit, or it does, it will have nothing or nearly nothing to do with these settings. So I hope you enjoyed the video and that it was helpful. If so, please consider subscribing to learn more and become a professional in game development. See you in the next one, and bye bye.